never guess who we've got behind this small billboard here. It's a man who we saw has been protesting the New World Order for 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Wayne Fontana, welcome to landofthefree.co.uk.
Hello, Susie. Initially, I didn't like parking meters anyway, so I thought this is
it's quite interesting that I find this with a lot of people, that their wake-up call to globalisation and loss of all their human rights is often over a parking ticket.
Yeah,
that is the wake-up call.
Well,
isn't
this is the best bit. When I got the parking ticket, I was working on. I mean, I'm an entertainer. We do tours like this, and we were working one year, and we were doing the London Palladium on a Sunday. So I parked in Drury Lane, perfectly legally. I was on a parking meter, but I read the sign. It said, no charges on Sundays and bank holidays. Well, it was the 7th of April, a Sunday. So I just popped off, left it on the parking thing, and then when I came down to go to the show...
You realised that you'd been unlawfully looted, basically.
I'd been looted, and they gave me a ticket, and so I got 3 Americans that were passing. I said, come here. I said, could you just read this sign? And they read it, and they said, yeah, it does say no charges, Sundays. I said, well, it's April the 7th, it's a Sunday. So eventually I just threw the ticket, and they walked away. So I never thought anything of it, but a month later I got a knock on my door. Hello, Mr. Ellis, we have a warrant. You owe us, this is the most ridiculous part, you owe us £1,227.84. If you don't give it to us, we'll get the police. I said, get the fucking police. And then the police come, and they're supposed to be...
they're meant to be there just to keep the peace.
Just to keep the peace. But they sided with the bailiffs.
Right.
They said, we think it best, Mr. Ellis, if you pay him the £1,227.84 and then sort it out with Drury Lane Borough, you know, the London Borough. So I paid them. Now, initially they said we can only take cash, which I didn't have 1,200 cash. So I gave them a card, and they managed to take it off the card. But previously they could only take cash.
Yeah.
So
I hope you don't pay parking tickets anymore, do you?
I don't pay them anymore.
Thank God for
that. No, because I'll tell you for why. Because after I'd paid that, about 3 weeks later, another couple turned up, and they said, Mr. Ellis, you owe us £734 and something pence for parking in Drury Lane. I said,
and the same ticket.
I've already paid 2 of your compadres £1,227.84. Nothing to do with us. I said, well, I'm not fucking paying it again. I said, fuck off. So they didn't go away. One of them pulled his van up to the back of my car,
right,
and the other gentleman pulled his white car up to the front, and they blocked my car.
Okay.
And I just asked them nicely. I said, "Could you move your cars?" I said, "I'm going to town to buy a pie for my lunch." And they said, "Not until you've paid." I said, "Well, I'm not paying you." I said, "So you either move, or I'll set fire to you." I told them.
You weren't carrying a can of petrol?
No, it was a little bottle, Avion. And I'd filled it with petrol to clean some shit off the driveway. So I had this little bottle of Evian, just handy. And so I asked him 4 times nicely. I said, just back up, let me go to town, let me go and buy me pie. And he's nodding his head like this. So eventually I just got pissed off, and I got the little bottle and poured it on his bonnet. And he sat in his car just going, no, no, no. And as I'm talking to this other criminal that's in the car, he's nodding his head. So I just lit the lighter, and it wouldn't light. And I thought, this is typical. I'm clicking away, and he's going... what I did, fucking hell, and I threw it. Yeah. I threw it on the bonnet, and it lit. Honestly, so God must have been saying, "I'll help you." So it lit, and the front of his car set on fire. Well, he didn't sit in it for long. He was out of that car and he was up Hathersage Road. Well, the funny thing was, later on when they're giving evidence to the police, they said, oh, Mr. Ellis set fire to the first car, then he went in his garage and brought the tin of petrol out and poured it over the first man, and he said to that first man, you're next. And I said, well, it was a bit difficult for me to do that because he was halfway up Hathersage Road at the time, running away from the smell of the petrol. I said, so whoever told you that was a liar, because I never went to the first car because there was no reason.
So they both backed up their story?
They both backed it up.
Right, did it go to court?
A policeman wrote the report for them. He wrote both the reports, which were almost identical. And then they said, we have photographs of the objects, and they'd only gone in the garage and brought the petrol can out, put that on the lawn next to my Evian bottle, which was full of petrol at one time, and then they found another Evian bottle in the lake near me, and they brought that. So 2 Evian bottles and a green petrol container.
So you were stitched up for arson and attempted murder, probably.
Attempted murder.
Over a parking ticket.
14 years they said I could have got, but they said because of extenuating circumstances, we're just going to give you 6 months.
You spent 6 months in prison for that?
I certainly did. They said I could have been done for murder, well, attempted murder. I said, no, if I'd wanted to murder him, what I would have done, I would have put a match in his petrol tank at the back. I said I did give him a fair chance by just setting fire to his bonnet. It gave him chance to leg it, which he did. And then when all this evidence came out, and then it was ding, 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 you know, the engines were coming, the fire engines.
The fire engines were coming?
The fire engines were good.
An Evian bottle with some petrol in it that you put...
I must tell you
that haven't told me.
When his bonnet set on fire, he was so close to my car that the back of my car set on fire. So we had two cars in the street flaming away. Obviously, we needed a fire engine. So they sent for the fire engine, and he comes dingling down the street. And when the evidence came through, I said, now here's the thing. Do our fire engines have video cameras on? And they says, yes, we do. I said, well, if you get the video of that, you'll see 2 rats running up Hathersage Road away from the scene of the crime. So eventually, I was on tour again at the time. We finished the tour. They took me to court on May the 25th. And I was just ready to go to Spain. You know, I thought they'd take me and find me. And he says, well, I dressed up a little bit as the woman of justice. You know, I had a little crown and scales of justice and a sword. And a little Roman thing on I had. So I walked in the court like this. And the judge wasn't too keen. But there's nothing to say what you can wear in court. You can wear what you like. So he said to me, he said, you're treating this court like a pantomime. And I said, well, you're the one wearing the wig and the ties. And
well, you should have said, oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, no, I'm not. So he says, I hope they've got some nice warm clothes for you in Nottingham prison. Take him down 6 months. So I got 6 months for that.
So you got summary judgment, basically. You weren't allowed to say anything.
Oh, and they said eventually, this is like 6 years ago, and they're saying we're thinking now of having courts without witnesses, you know, without
secret
a jury.
Secret court. Well, it went from without a jury to secret courts.
There was nobody in with him. He was on his own, and he decided, Mr. Ellis, I hope they've got some warm clothes for you in Nottingham prison, because you're going down for 6 months.
So you weren't allowed to give evidence in your own case?
We had a defence and a prosecution. They never said a word. He just decided on his own.
Do you think you stole his thunder a bit by turning up in a frock?
I think he was jealous because I did look a bit better than him. I did. I must honestly say now I think that's why I got 6 months. But this is the farce of it, and it's just gone on. I was a law-abiding citizen until I was 59.
You are right, though. A lot of this stuff wakes people up because they see the deep-rooted corruption. Basically, a mafia looting them.
Oh, yeah.
And then it wakes them up.
And then sending 2 more bailies for the same fine, but making it a bit reduced, 700 quid.
It says everything.
My wife phoned up the not Camden, you know, Drury Lane, whoever looked after the park in there. She said, my husband's just been done. Could you tell me how much the original ticket was? So she looked up the ticket. It says £50. So she said, well, how much is it now that he's not paid it? She said, £80.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted 1,227.48.
What they do is they never have a warranty. What it is that you go to Northampton Bulk Centre, as we know.
They came from Northampton. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of bailiff companies use the Northampton mailing address, and I've taken on pretty much all of them.
They've all got bars on the windows.
Yeah.
Every one of the collection agencies.
Yeah.
They barred the windows because people must just try to get in anyway.
Well, what I do now is I send it back to their managing director, and any of their junk mail comes to my address, that goes back without a stamp on, and so they have to pay the postage. But I've also taken on Newlyn at the moment, because the council handed over, basically when I won my court case against the council, they brought up a previous debt. So you go to court for one thing, so say you owe me 50 quid, right? You owe me 50 quid, and we go to court over it, and I said, no, but he owes me 20 quid from last week as well. Irrelevant, right? But they still bring it up. But with these debt collectors, they are only debt collectors, and they call themselves bailiffs, but they have no court authority. So that's why they make up the fees. Because if they were from a court, they'd have to have the stamped warrant from the court with an amount on.
Oh yeah.
Now, so what they do is they hire basically thugs, self-employed, and they go around and basically knock on your door and say you owe us this much money. Well, anyone can do that,
just
right?
make up.
Yeah, anyone can do that.
Somebody come and say you owe us £1,227.84 for parking on Drury Lane, even though it was Sunday and there was no charge.
Yeah, but there is a remedy.
Slash your wrists.
Yes. No. The remedy is this: 36-inch bolt cutters will remove any clamp. So you wait for them to clamp the car. Yeah. Then you cut the clamp off and move the car. They're quite annoyed when they get back. I bet they are. But there's nothing they can do.
Oh, well, there you go. You see, I didn't know about that when I was only 59 at the time. It just went on from there. Then.
So you started doing research into corruption.
I researched everything, alternative media and everything, because you can't believe a word from the mainstream. Well, I dealt with it by saying I'm not fucking paying you. Yeah. I don't. So again, it's Mr. Ellis. We'd like you to appear in court at the Ashton-on-Mersey courts, magistrates' courts. You've been assigned, what do they call them now? They don't call them...
An insolvency practitioner.
Insolvency practitioner. Yes. But I'd already had to pay the bankrupt, the official receiver had already had to have a payment. I go and see the guy in Manchester. Yeah. They take a statutory payment of 80-odd quid, and then they give you the practitioner. Gotcha. And then the practitioner phones, Mr. Ellis, I demand that you come to my office, which was at Manchester Airport, so I can interview you about this. I said, I don't owe you anything, and I'm not coming, and I'm working at the same day. So anyway, eventually it's, if you don't come, blah, 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 blah. So I said, well, it'll have to be a date I'm not working. So he said, well, at this moment in time, Mr. Ellis, we own your house, your car, all your assets. Please don't try and drive your car off the driveway because you'll be breaking the law. It's now our car. And they went through all this crap of telling me that I was skint. My bank account had been blocked and everything, and I had to go in and see him first. So eventually I get to see him, and he tries to shake my hand. Hello, Mr. Ellis. Are you fucking joking? Yeah. I want to shake your hand. Anyway, he gives me all this interview. I give him all the answers, and he says, right. I said, listen, I've had so much aggravation now. Can I just give you the £1,060? He says, no, we have procedures. So what the procedures are, that he has to continue on as long as he can as my bankruptcy looker after.
For up to 7 years.
He can do if he wants, but he only took 6 months. Yeah. But he did charge £19,000 for doing it, when I only owed 1,060. So it's a big racket. There's 1,788 of them, and they're all licensed to steal. tell you what annoys me more than the parking ticket?
Go on.
Having 4 fucking dustbins.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to put shit in one,
Yeah.
paper in the other,
Yeah.
grass cuttings in the other one, and normal shit in the last
Yeah.
one. And if I put paper in with the tin,
Yeah.
I get fined. Now, one day, I thought I'll
Do
just...
they come around and check your bins then?
Oh, they check them. You have to take a certain bin out on a certain day.
Yeah.
So what I did, I thought, I'm going to follow that truck and see where it goes with that bin.
Yeah.
It goes to the same tip
Yes.
that they tip the other 3 bins
Yes.
in, but it's just to train you like
right.
a dog.
Yes.
You're being trained like a dog.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
There is no recycling. It all goes to landfill.
It all goes to landfill, and it goes in the same fucking hole. And my wife said, "Oh, this is a good idea." She's cleaning the bean tins out for him.
Yes.
She is, honestly.
Yeah, I know. But people buy into it.
Right, sir, what did he do? I said, well, firstly, he said, take your hat off. And all I said was, do you mean please? And he says, what? What? I said, he's an ignorant bastard. Well, he shouldn't have done that, sir, so if you'd come with me and we'll take you through. And it was a load of bollocks again. You know, they said, right, before you can come in, could we have your fingerprints, your thumbprint, side of your hand, and then if you'd look in this so we can see. I said, what for? They said, it's the law now. I said, well, I've been coming for 40 years. It's never been the law before. Why is it the law now? 9/11. You know, terrorists, we don't know what's... I said, well, I'm not a terrorist, and I've been coming here for 42 years, and I'm not going to give
Yes,
you...
but sir, how do I know that you're not a terrorist?
Well, I don't. I told you. I've told you I'm not. And I've not committed any crime yet. I'm not even in your fucking country. And already you want fingerprints, side prints, this, eye scan. I said, I'm not giving it you. Well, you can't come in. I said, well, I don't fucking care. I've only come for a visit. I said, I'll go home. Oh, Mr. Ellis, you can't do that. I said, yeah, I can. I don't fucking want to come in. I said, I'm not giving you anything. Well, we have your fingerprints in Washington, they said. I said, when was that from? Well, when you came in the early 60s. I said, well, fucking phone Washington and get them to send that fucking copy of my fingerprint. And you'll see it's me. No, we can't do that. I said, why not? Well, this is the law now. We want all of your finger, your thumb, your fucking eye. We'd like to stick a camera up your ass to see if they're your intestines. Yeah. And so I said, well, I'm not coming in, so you can fuck off. So they dragged me out, put me in a room for 5 hours, right? 5 hours. They said, we'll bring you a drink, sir. I never got one drink. And then some other arsehole comes in, because we're all chatting, you know, a few of us there that have been detained, and we've sat sideways on the benches and we've just chatting away. And this copper goes, all sit and face the front.
Was this all the deportees?
This is all the deportees. And
Yeah.
we're all, sit and face the front. Oh, what the fuck are you? Anyway, we all had to turn and sit and face the front lights. We've been there 5 hours waiting for a drink. And then this arsehole comes in. Anyway, eventually somebody comes to take me, and they lead me through the back of the airport and up this alley and onto a plane. Put me on the plane and send me home. Well, I thought, well, at least I've been deported, and I'll get half my ticket back. They used my fucking ticket to deport me. Honestly, and without a word of a lie. And I get home. What are you doing back now? I said, well, they wouldn't let me in. And I'm banned from America now. And he said, oh, and a bloke comes in, a truth officer, before you go, and he says, I'd like to just question you, Mr. Ellis, about what was your mother's maiden name? I said, what's that got to do with you? I said, you'll probably involve her in some conspiracy, you know. Well, what was your father's name? I said, no, I'm not fucking telling you. Well, if you don't tell me, I'll have to. I said, I don't care what you do. I'm going home. I'm not coming into your country. He says, well, you'll have to give us your fingerprints before you leave. I said, well, that's why I'm going home, because I don't want to give you... So this goes on, and I just had to say to him, I said, you know, when you finish doing all this dirty work for your bent government who took down those towers anyway, I said, it's those people on the hill you should be arresting, not me. I said, when you finish doing all this shit dirty work, you're going to be the first to get a bullet in the back of your head, because they don't want any witnesses. Ha ha ha.
I think that the moral of the story is it starts with a parking ticket, doesn't it?
It started with the kids.
No.
Where does it end? That's the question.
Well, it
Where does
ends.
it end?
It ends when we all stop taking it. That's when it ends.
It ends when they've got us all on benefits with just enough to buy bread and butter.
Yeah.
We'll all be in FEMA camps with a chip in the back of our neck that is scanned every time you go into one of their stores, because that's all that'll be left.
Correct.
Will be the company store.
Yeah.
And you shop at the company store. They scan the back of your neck to see if you've got any points. And then if you say anything against the government, they turn your chip off and you starve to death. Now that is when it ends.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're too far away from that.
Not very far away, because it's going plastic now.
That's why they're getting us used to shopping on the internet.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't even want to serve you now. You've got to go and check yourself out. Put
Well,
your
they're
own
already
money in.
microchipping the homeless and prisoners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your microwaves and your dishwashers and your fridges are all spying on you now. I mean, they've admitted that the chips in every new car, so they know where you're going, where you've been, and where you plan to go. And your television watches you unless you unplug it. Your mobile phone listens to you, even switched off unless you take the battery out. So we're on the way. We're on the way.
Well, the level of surveillance is sort of off the charts now.
1984, man.
George Orwell.
George Orwell's house has got 16 cameras.
Yes.
I think it's just to show us this is what we can do.
Yes.
Oh, it's mental.
But,
Apart from that, I'm having quite a good time.
yeah, it's turned out nice again.
I'm just skint. Just skint and fucking bankrupt. But I'm all right. I'll be all right.
Well, it's always rock and roll.
There's always rock and roll.
Thanks, Wayne.
It was brilliant, that. It was brilliant.